Call to order Town Council public hearing and regular meeting, January 18th, 2024, Cape Charles Civic Center, 6 p.m. Call to order. Could I have a roll call, please?
Buckles present.
Bennett present.
Buda present.
Grossman present.
Andrew,
Fulmer present, calling in from Minocqua, Wisconsin.
from where, I'm sorry?
Minocqua, Wisconsin.
Thank you. All right, let it be known, establish a quorum. And if we could all rise for a moment of silence and pledge of allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Item 3, public hearing, zoning map amendment 2023-04, rezone tax map 83A31644 and A3A3-1641 from commercial-1 to residential-1. And Katie or John?
Good evening. We actually started this process back in November, where Town Council passed a resolution of intent as required to authorize staff to file the necessary paperwork to rezone these two tax map parcels, which are directly located behind the library building, from Commercial 1 to Residential 1. This is part of our entire library building project, which you have been working on to look to redevelop the library building itself. And as part of that, your proposer, your selected proposer, initially was interested in acquiring those two lots as part of this development, has since notified the town that they no longer wish to have those two lots part of his development proposal. And with that, you, as the council, then indicated you'd like to peel these off separately, and really do not wish those to be developed commercially when you're having those conversations with the developer, and they felt really they should be residentially zoned. Hence, we started this public hearing process. So with that said, we've gone now to the Planning Commission, and I will tell you about their public hearing slightly later on. We've also had some community input through this process, but that is the essence of tonight's public hearing, and I will stop there. Okay. John Barrett?
Yeah, I don't. My wife and I live in the Logias. We participated in the meeting last Tuesday where everybody discussed matters. Looking at the notes from that meeting, it doesn't reflect that the majority of the people at that meeting were opposed to the Randolph Street easement being closed off, and that the city, in fact, said they weren't going to ask for that. Your representative said they were not going to ask that that be closed anymore. So I'd like to see that somewhere, because that's what most of the people at that meeting wanted. We don't otherwise oppose any change in the zoning.
Is it Carrie Barrett?
Yes. Carrie Barrett, Parsons Building. Yeah, we were involved at the web portion of that meeting, and it wasn't really clear as to whether that easement would be considered in the sale of those two lots or not. Speaking today on behalf of Rick and Teresa, who own 205, they reside in Ohio, so they could not be here this evening, but I think that they had talked to Katie after the meeting about proposing something for one of those lots, possibly some parking spaces and whatnot. And we would need an actual survey of that to see what the lines are in order to present or propose anything such as that. She said that there are some folks that are potentially interested in going in on the lot that is right there where the easement is located. So we would like to have that survey information if we can acquire that, please. And then again, some clarification as to whether that easement is being considered or not being considered. There seems to be some confusion after that community session that we had. Thank you.
John Dempster?
John Dempster, I'm here representing Brown Dog. Unfortunately, I missed the meeting that happened a few weeks ago regarding the property and the easement. I was out of town. But just want to make sure that I reiterate our position about maintaining trash and deliveries to the back of the building. As we all know that Mason Avenue gets extremely congested in the summertime. There are certain businesses on Mason Avenue that don't have rear access that have to take deliveries on Mason Avenue. When they do, it creates terrific congestion, but not only that, in my opinion, it creates a public safety issue when you're trying to get around those vehicles that are parked out there for 45 minutes. On top of that, I know that currently there's one dumpster back there. We have 4 trash cans, 4 trash carts, as Davis calls them. We could actually use more, quite frankly. And I think that condensing down to potentially 1 dumpster back there for all of the businesses that are partaking in that could create a trash issue. And well, the last thing we need is, quite frankly, people that when they're busy in the summertime are going to put trash wherever they can put trash. If we don't have containment units for them, it could become a messy issue back there. Of course, we'll do our best to make sure that's not on us, but we're not the only parties involved. So I want to make sure that the trash is addressed and that the delivery, I know there's some discussion about potentially having a loading zone on the beginning of Pine, I believe, on the corner of, Pine and Mason Avenue. I think that that's pretty critical if this were to be approved, because I think that we need to continue to take deliveries in the back of the building. And I can tell you the trash and cardboard, for instance, you've got Kelly's involved, you've got us involved, you've got K-Coast involved. I read the letter that Mark Pugh submitted on behalf of K-Coast, and I have to say that I agree with a lot of his comments, and I think that a lot of things he's saying is not necessarily opposed to rezoning, but I think maybe we need to take a step back instead of just approving something right away and get a survey and make sure that we're using the proper property boundaries to make sure that we have the room that we're saying we have. Because we just say, okay, this works, and then a new property owner comes in on the residential lots and says, well, I'm putting a fence here because I got a survey, and all of a sudden we don't have the space that we thought we had. That could be a tremendous issue. So I just wanted to voice my opinion on those and make sure that Mark was heard as well. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Those are the only 3 that signed up to speak, but I do have a couple of comments that were submitted in writing. First one is from Ann Haywood Walker. It says, regarding proposed zoning map amendment 2023-04, rear access to buildings on Mason Avenue is important. Some of the blocks have deeded access to alleys, but others do not. Assuming the town proceeds to sell the library building in 2 lots as proposed, is it possible to include rear access to the alley behind adjacent buildings in the deed of sale? Very respectfully, Ann Haywood Walker. And this one is from Mark Pugh of Kookaburra LLC. Dear Cape Charles Town Council, this letter is a request that the council delay until November 2024 the change in zoning request approved by the Planning Commission and submitted by the town of Cape Charles for tax map 83A3-1-644 and 83A3-1-641. The town of Cape Charles is at a fork in the road with the rezoning of these 2 lots. It can be a shining example of leadership with good zoning for the future, or act like a private entity in search of a quick buck. A wise delay will give the town the ability to see how several items will affect the neighborhood that have recently come to light as affected property owners have mobilized and become more informed. The town is currently looking at legislation that will affect short-term rentals. If a limitation on short-term rentals is enacted, the town council should also place that burden on these undeveloped lots. This will affect the property value of the town-owned lots, and they should be under the same obligation if they decide to impose regulations on other property owners. Put your money where your mouth is. The town also needs to look at required on-site parking. New development should be required to have off-street, on-site parking requirements to meet the town's needs that have evolved. With regards to parking, the town zoning code is operating under the parking needs of a 1924 working-class railroad town and a tourist town of 2024. I have to repeat that to stress its impact. The town zoning code is operating under the parking needs of a 1924 working-class railroad town in a tourist town of 2024. We all know the residential zoning currently requires no off-street parking. We all know if the lots are rezoned and developed, odds are they may contain a 6-bedroom, 6.5 bath, and a 5-bedroom, 5.5 bath short-term rental house, the smaller due to the Randolph easement eating away the building envelope. That may be 10 to 15 street parking spaces the development of the lots may use, given many STRs are used by multiple or extended families with some guests arriving at various days. The town sells off the lots while the residents are left holding the steaming bag of parking problems. Minimum required parking on new development would relieve the street impact, lessen the building envelope to stop a mini hotel, and better serve the community while allowing for responsible development. The town of Cape Charles can lead for the future or simply push through to make a fast buck. Sincerely, Mark A. Pugh.
All right. We could hold all applause, please.
Those are the only two submitted for that public hearing.
He still has 30 seconds. 30 seconds. Can you get it in quickly?
Real quick. I just want to reiterate, that's not the letter I read, so when I'm saying here, it's saying here that I supported that. But what I did read in the agenda, Libby, there was a different letter in the agenda that did have some really good points, I thought, even about them bringing up the survey and saying there's no survey done with current conditions for the proposed changes in Sutton Porch change in zoning status. In addition to the survey, there's been no study done to determine a change in zoning will affect the deeded egress access. I think that's a decent point. So while I want to sit here and I want to support Mark, I want to support all the businesses there, I also want to do it diplomatically.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right. Can I get a motion? Yeah, make a motion, we
We
close.
still have another
still-
public
one
hearing,
more.
3B.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. All right, the proposed master tree plan. Who's speaking on
There
behalf?
are no, nobody has signed up to speak, but I do have a letter that was
Okay.
submitted to read into the record.
Jeff didn't sign up.
Oh. Okay, I'll add that.
Do I speak now, or do you go
Yeah.
to the?
Yeah, come on up.
Sorry, I didn't get your signature to sign up. I'm Jeff Klingel. I've been a resident of the town for 25 years. And I had a little bit of confusion. I want to make sure that confusion does not appear to be any disrespect to the volunteers that helped put this plan together. But I was confused when I saw in the Town Gazette that there had been some competitive pricing put together for the installation of these trees. And I didn't see anywhere, but there was an RFP for that, or any kind of selection of who that RFP might have reached. And speaking with other industry professionals, no one else was aware of this RFP either. I'm currently being notified that there is a new RFP for the same thing that's actually due tomorrow. And I'm really kind of confused about the process, about how this might go about. And the last part of it is I'm also assuming, and certainly no disrespect to the board itself, but just want to make sure that the criteria that was chosen or used to make these selections of what these different species are and the time of year that they're going to be installed was sort of how they came about those decisions was met with science and met with other state recommendations.
If everybody doesn't know, give me your background so you can quantify that.
Well, I'm a landscape contractor, a Virginia certified horticulturalist, and I've been planting trees in this town for 25 years. Yep. So,
Thank you.
so I hope that somewhere we'll get some of those questions answered before we go forward with that. Thank you.
nobody else, I do have one to read into the record from Ann Haywood Walker. It says regarding proposed 2024 multi-year master tree plan. Trees are a vital part of the town's appeal, plus they add high value to the community and natural landscape. We are fortunate to have the Tree Advisory Board give their time and expertise in developing the master tree plan. I am a supporter of tree additions that provide native wildlife benefits, and oak trees are one of the best selections for that purpose. I have concerns about the proposed red oak trees on Randolph, which, if I have looked at the correct species, is fast growing, grows to 50 to 75 feet tall, and is equally as wide. While oaks have a deep and strong taproot, they also have an extensive lateral root system near the surface. I'd like to raise some considerations for selecting the specific trees in the DOT health strip in town, which are close to sidewalks, homes, and parking. We have direct experience with some trees planted by the town brushing against our building at 325 Mason Avenue, excuse me, growing into our sewer lines and also causing the sidewalk to buckle. I'd therefore like to suggest that the following be considered in addition to shade canopy and native wildlife benefit when selecting trees for the health strips. One is the proposed new tree location near a town sewer line, many of which are aging terracotta. 2, will the tree roots present a potential long-term risk to those sewer lines, which could involve a significant expense to homeowners? 3, will a proposed tree grow to a height or width that could impact adjacent homes in other ways, pedestrian walkways, parking spaces, views, and overhead wires? 4, who will be responsible for collecting the leaves and other debris, such as acorns? Thank you for your kind consideration. I look forward to enjoying the new additions in our town. Very respectfully, Ann Haywood Walker.
Now we can.
Okay, make a motion, the public hearing be closed.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
All right. We doesn't look like we have any visitors or presentations. Is anyone signed up for public comments?
Nobody has signed up for the regular public comments.
And anything on
Nothing
eBay or anything?
sent.
Nothing. All right. The consent agenda, approval for the agenda format, approval of the minutes, and approval of the November 30th, 2023 financial report.
Motion to approve. Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Motion carries. Unfinished business, none. New business. Proposed master tree planting plan, resolution 20240-118.
So, Mr. Mayor, I'll start with that. We have representatives of TAP here to answer questions and engage in the discussion at your request. And I will say, though, that I need to own a little snafu on our posting procedures. We've been working on this plan for the past year, and there are several versions of it. The final version, the one that we intended to go to public hearing, is the one that was dated January of '24. That one was posted on the web with the agenda statement on the appropriate action item. We also advertised for the public hearing, and if you follow the advertisement link, that takes you to the right plan. However, there was one place where if you just went to our website and just clicked on the meeting and then clicked on the public hearing, an old version plan came up. So the December plan came up, which was not current. So I want to apologize to anybody who looked at the plan and if it had a December date on it, that is not the plan we're considering tonight. We do have, the clerk has some hard copies if anybody needs to reference that old plan by mistake and would like to see the new one. It is substantially similar, but not identical. So I just wanted to call that out. I hopefully most people saw the correct version, and hopefully you've reviewed the correct version. Beyond that, TAB has been working with the town on a number of issues related to trees, helping with our Tree City program, Arbor Day, trying to work to maintain our tree canopy, which we all find very valuable. So they approached the town last year about developing a program to start filling in the blanks, if you will, and because they were never officially appointed as a board and are not a formal nonprofit organization, they don't have the legal status to have and spend money. So the town is doing that. So what they requested during the budget last year and what you approved was that we reserve a line item within the Public Works budget for tree planting. So it's our money, we control it, we spend it, but we look to TAB for their recommendations on how to do that. So after you approved the budget, approved last summer with that funding, they went to work to try to start coming up with a plan. As you know, most of the plantings occur in public right-of-ways, most of which belong to VDOT. So when you contact VDOT to get permission to put these things in, they're the ones that required a council resolution and a public hearing of a plan in order to get their approval. So that's why we're in the process we're in today. The plan looks, it's a multi-year plan, but because TAB wanted to have project a vision. However, there's too many variables really to plan beyond the first year. So really, you should only pay attention closely to the year one plan. That's the one that where they put into the most of the work. That's the one where they identified sites, et cetera. It would be our intention to come back every year and update this with you based on available funding. We became aware last year of a grant opportunity, a matching grant opportunity that would have doubled it, but we found out too late to apply for the program. So, I mean, had we been able to do that and had been able to get that grant, we could have done twice the amount of work. So again, depending on how the funding works out, we'll update the plan every year and bring it back to you. So we're asking you to primarily just focus on the plan that was presented for year one. We have had some discussion since it was posted. There has been some other questions. You heard some. Oops, sorry. You heard some tonight. So I mean, we're still flexible on how we implement this. You know, whether we talk about the species or homeowner involvement. We are. TAB is going out and making personal contacts with homeowners. The town will, before we do anything, send out a formal letter notifying homeowners, making sure we get their concurrence, that they're okay with it going in there. We also talked about perhaps offering a variety of species if someone was concerned about the recommended one, those sorts of things. What else? So on the procurement, to Jeff's comments, yes, again, we went through several iterations of developing this, and TAB went out and got contacted a couple of contractors to get ideas of pricing, and it was not a full RFP. It was just to develop the plan up to that point. That information is stale. It needs to be refreshed. So as we put this plan together and we came into the new year and brought it forward, I told them to put together a real RFP and put it back on the street. And that's what's on the street now. So we hope to get better pricing or the competitive pricing when these bids come due.
How long ago did that go out?
That's what I was going to ask.
When did the RFP go out?
It will have been 2 weeks as of tomorrow, so they had a 2-week lead time.
Any
And how is that?
advertisement?
Go ahead.
I was going to say, any advertisement on that?
No.
How many bids have you gotten back so far?
The bids aren't due yet.
Oh, okay. It's tomorrow, correct?
Right.
And would it have been advertised on the town website? Bids available?
I'm not sure.
From what you said, it wasn't advertised, so it was just the people you had originally talked to that actually knew that?
Actually, we did expand the number of potential businesses from 2 to 4.
So it was emailed out?
But we were not
posted?
aware of any other businesses in the area that would have been interested in putting in a bid.
Does this follow state procurement guidelines to do it that way? I don't think so.
It's got to be
Was
open
it,
to all of it, or?
I'm taking it, was it emailed out or posted somewhere?
It was emailed directly to the
Yeah,
businesses.
that's not an RFP. That's just a, hey, bid on this. That's a big difference.
Well, we're not in a hurry. We can delay the bid opening and post it properly. That's not a problem.
I would definitely
We are in a bit of a hurry if we are trying to get it in by the spring.
No, I meant for the procurement, we're in a hurry to get the plan approved, but as far as getting the bids in, that can wait another couple of weeks.
It can, as long as the vendors are able to be prepared to do the planting in the March timeframe. Otherwise, we'll be getting too close to summer, and that's not a good time to plant. So we would need to wait for the fall. We'd be at a new budget year, so.
Right, so, yeah,
we have to put the
based on
RFP,
who the contractor is, we would obviously take their advice on best time to plan, and if we couldn't make the spring, we'll do it in the fall. So, at this point, I'll open up to questions, and Tab's here to answer any questions you have.
Do we need a motion first, or is this?
Yes. The formality of the resolution is required by VDOT, so staff's recommending approval.
All right. Can I get a motion on the proposed master
Well,
tree?
we have another question, if you don't
Well, we have to
mind.
put a motion on the floor.
And then you can ask your, Do I have a motion?
Make a motion, we approve resolution 20240-118, adopting a master tree planting plan for Cape Charles.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
I move for adoption of resolution 20240-118, adopting a Cape Charles master tree planting plan as noticed, and forego the reading of the resolution. And now we can have.
Yeah, now there's discussion, okay.
I have a question.
Yes. I'm sorry, I forgot your name.
So the mic wasn't picking up everything. Sorry, this is Andrew in case anyone's
Yeah.
saying that. The mic wasn't picking up everything John said. So I missed the explanation on the procurement. So what's been sent, from what I picked up and I heard, so we've emailed something out, but we've not yet done the RFP.
So it was emailed out to specific contractors, which is not allowed. So we need to put the RFP back out there as a general bid to all contractors. And if that cannot be done in time for spring, then we'll move the plantings to the fall, or whatever the winning contractor's recommendation is.
Okay, perfect. I just wanted to make sure that, exactly, we weren't letting the calendar bypass the rules. Great.
No.
Okay, and I have a question about the RFP, now that we're more in a formal thing.
Can you come up here so that
Yeah,
people?
come on up to the
so
microphone.
anybody talking has to come up here
Oh, okay.
so Facebook people can hear us.
Okay, all right.
How do I
It
put-
was,
Hold on one second, let me
He
put it
must
on
have
mute.
gotten dropped. He must have gotten dropped.
No, that mutes him.
There we go. Okay, we'll find him later.
Hopefully he'll comment.
okay. It was just a question, not really giving information. It was asking for information. And that is, when we do go about this process, will it be incumbent on the tree advisory board to initiate that process? Is it our responsibility to do the RFP?
No.
Okay,
No, I mean, I've asked for your help putting it together, but the town will put it out.
okay, thank you.
You're welcome. Any other discussion?
Andrew, are you there?
I gotta
dropped
turn
off.
it back up, hold on. No. All right.
All right, the question I had is relative to the comments that were made with regards to the placement of these trees and the types of trees and the disruption to utilities. Have we looked at each of these houses and where those utilities are?
We have in
Can you
terms
come back
of-
up to, it has to be up here. You might want to just
You
stay.
might as well just
you might
stay
wanna
up
just
here.
I
stay up-
wasn't planning on
You might as well just stay up here till we're done.
I have my shoes. We looked at the proximity of overhead lines, power lines, and there are 3 understory trees that are on the sides where we have power lines. The other ones are unobstructed. We did not do a deep dive study into how the root system goes with these trees. However, we agree that was a valid point about looking at the sewer lines and seeing where they are in proximity to where the tree will be planted. So I think that's definitely a valid thing. But as far as blocking the view, I think that when the tree is young, It will block the view. But these are large overhead canopy trees. There should be plenty of room, and we can go out and measure between the house and where the tree, the half of the tree that would go over on the yard side. So I don't see that being a problem. As far as cleanup goes, it is the responsibility of the homeowner to make sure that that verge hill strip is maintained. So in the letter that goes out, or when we talk with the individual homeowners, we can make that point. And if they object, then that's fine. There are plenty of good places to plant these trees. So if a homeowner objects, we have lots of other choices to go to.
All right, and I just add and make sure with the utilities, electric is there because A&C is burying lines. So when my house was remodeled, you wouldn't know where the electricity is going without talking to the homeowner and getting the specific plan to work.
I think Miss Utility will have to be called before any.
Yeah, and that is true. That is in the one of the assumptions, that before any digging happens, it will be the responsibility of the provider to make sure that they're not infringing on any utility lines. I don't know if that includes sewer, though, so we might need to do a little bit work on that.
It will.
It does? Okay. Okay.
You guys may, I don't know if you guys have all been into Bay Creek, but I would definitely take a drive over there and see all the white pines, or white oaks that are over there. They've just replaced what are they? Willow oak, but isn't it a similar species with the acorns and all that stuff?
Yeah, they're in the same genus.
Yeah, well, look what they've done to they've replaced a lot of curbs over there, being that close in that zone. It's, they do a lot of.
They've removed a lot of them as well.
Yeah, like they have.
Because of shallow roots?
No, it's spread root, and they're deep roots, but they go everywhere, and they bust up the sidewalks. They had a lot of sidewalks replaced, a lot of curbs replaced. It's just something to look at. And then there's a lot of ripple effects that are tearing up some of the asphalt over in some of the areas. So it's one of those things, it's very, definitely keep an eye out. And whoever you hire, just find a species that's gonna go down, not out.
With the taproot, yes. We
Because
were
it's not
aware
a
of the
big- it's not a
loblollies
big
over
area
there.
to be planting, especially a big red oak.
Yes, that's a majestic, beautiful tree that feeds 534 caterpillars. The most valuable tree to wildlife. I don't know if it's Virginia or the country, but it is a very valuable source for supporting wildlife. And that's one of the reasons why we selected it. But obviously, it's worth going back and looking at other options.
So I have something. Yeah, I'm confused as to whether or not this is a master tree plan or a master tree planting plan, because a master plan to me has a beginning and an end, and it describes the entire program of what you intend to do. So this appears to be a master tree planting plan for a year and then kind of just drifts off into future years, hoping to get more money. And then the tree location apparently hasn't been coordinated with anybody. It looks fairly willy-nilly to me. You know, you pick a house, you put a tree there, there could be no trees on either side of the house. So how do you pick which house gets one tree? I'm a little disappointed in the pricing that for $10,000 you get 13 trees. I also kind of thought that understory trees needed to be under something as opposed to just, they don't grow as high. So, you know, they don't grow as well in the open as they do under other tree canopy. So I think there's a lot of work that needs to be done to this master tree plan, because I'm hesitant to jump into a open-ended, town-funded, people-funded program that has no end. You know, we have no idea how many trees we intend to plant. Yeah, it's a good thing if we plant 13 one year and then we never plant another one, but to me, a master plan should be exactly that, a master plan. We want to do this to the entire historic district, or wherever it is you're planting. I'm not sure where the park that was mentioned is, that's in a future year plan. Harbor Park, I'm not aware of a Harbor Park other than in Norfolk, so.
Well, Harbor Park is the new park that's been established there at the harbor where the gazebo is,
Okay.
and there was
I
some
didn't know it had
landscaping
an
done around
official
it.
name.
Oh,
It
okay.
doesn't, that's why we call it the Harbor Park.
And there's two
Maybe it should be
gazebos.
lowercase instead of uppercase.
But anyway,
Yeah.
my personal opinion is this is a little bit premature. I think there needs to be a little bit more work done on the master plan to try to define better what it is you're attempting to do. And then I definitely think that it needs to be properly put out to bid and give everybody a chance to bid on it, and then likely get better pricing and hopefully more trees.
One of the criteria that we were using in selecting the locations for the trees was coming into town, where Stone Road turns into Randolph, and those first couple of blocks are very barren of any landscaping that is desirable. So that was why we picked that. And also with Central Park being such a popular place for gathering, we were looking on Tazewell and also on Plum to enhance that area. The inside of the park is very nice. It's been a very good job of that. But the outside area could use a little,
Well, I have trouble with the single trees in front of a house, single tree in front of a house with no trees on either sides. The picture I liked the best was planting 3 of them in front of the library. That then is a tree planting plan. It is a treescape. It fills in that whole
well,
lot.
actually, that we did have, when we thought we were going to be able to get the grant, we had a plan for much more infill of trees, to have a more consistent row of trees. But when we had to cut it back, we said, well, we'll start with 1 tree in this spread, and then as the years roll out is funding. And I think funding was really the big reason why we couldn't really come up with a very well-defined plan for multiple years, because we didn't really know what to base that on.
Well, you don't need to
So-
have a final price in a master plan, but you do, in my opinion, need to have a plan. And this, to me, isn't a master plan. It is a 1-year planting plan. And hope we get some money for years after that.
Okay.
Question I had was why we weren't choosing to replace dead trees first. Was there a reason to, we're going to fill in this spot, as opposed to, let's go and deal with all the dead ones, get those done, and then, so I think as you flesh out the plan, address some of those things.
That is a valid point, definitely. But again, with our mission saying, where would we get the most aesthetic value coming into town? That's why we focused on those areas instead of, because where a tree came out, that could have been not a desirable place to begin with. So I agree that there's a lot of replacement trees that are needed in town, but to meet our goal, the biggest, the most visible areas for residents and visitors coming into town and participating in events in town, that's why we picked the areas.
I was hoping just to, my name's Phil Getkin, and I'm also on the Tree Advisory Board, and I wanted to give a little more background on the selection process. It was meant to be a long-term process, whether you want to call it a master plan or just a tree planting plan. The Tree Advisory Board's main concern is to enhance the canopy of in the town. Everybody, I think, agrees on the fact that trees are important. That's what we really want to support. Now, whether the bidding process needs to be redone, which obviously it does, that's another issue. But I mean, the Tree Advisory Board wants more trees in town. And what we did, I'll just give you a little bit more background on what we did. We looked at every single lot in town, more than once. And we recognized the fact that the biggest impediment for trees in town are the overhead wires. So if you look at the avenues, the south side, generally speaking, has no overhead wires. Now, it may still have utilities underground, which we will certainly identify where those utilities are to make sure it's not a problem. On the streets, the west side is available without, generally speaking, without overhead wires. So the importance of that, obviously, is trees are going to grow better where there's no overhead wires. And our initial goal was to plant as many large canopy trees as possible because they're going to have the most impact. Coming back, we have offered up a couple of understory trees in the first year, but in the future years, there is room for a lot of trees in town. Now, John did say that, okay, we're going to focus on year one, but to say that, to know exactly what we would do in the future years, we know what our priorities are. Another thing we did was we looked at the top of every street and avenue, looked at it from both directions, and just got kind of a subjective feel, okay, this street really doesn't have any trees at all. We looked at each lot to look where the trees were, but also to get a visual look, because obviously one of the benefits of trees is the aesthetic beauty. So what John said was we can prioritize everything, but if trees die, a certain amount of money is available next year. Maybe there won't be any money available next year. We have identified in priority basis where we want to go next. We want to continue down Randolph. We want to move out onto Mason if possible over there. There's lots of areas in town, and we have, like I said, we looked at every lot and have prioritized everything and decided that it's our opinion that Randolph, being one of the major streets coming into town, then that was a good place to start. So
That would be a good thing to put in a master plan too. That's exactly the kind of description that I would be looking for as a master plan. This is where we want to start, this is what we want to do, this is where we want to end.
Let me just address the master plan versus planting plan. Again, we're only doing this because this is a hoop DOT's required us to jump through, okay? We really only set out to do and only need a one-year planting plan. That's all council approved. You approved you put this money in the budget for this fiscal year to plant as many trees as we could. That's all we need. But to get DDOT approval, I needed to bring you a resolution with a master plan. So that's why we're using that terminology. I think what Phil is trying to say is that it's to develop a true master plan by your definition is really not possible. There's too many variables. There's just too many. I don't know if you're going to fund that line item again next year. Neither do they. I don't know if we're going to get a grant next year. Neither do they. So we're just doing the best we can. We're just trying to execute the budget you approved. That's all.
Oh, that's different.
So yeah, I mean,
our concern is to get some trees planted.
So
the town needs trees.
I'm saying is let's not overthink this. Is what I'm saying. This is we're trying to spend the money that you.
I'm not overthinking it. I'm reading the words, and the words are not.
Fair
they're
enough.
not telling me
Fair
what
enough.
the words say.
Fair enough. So that's why I'm clarifying it.
But I think the idea of creating some sort of plan that says, in the future, we'd like to see this area, that area improved. We
Agreed.
think that plantings will do that. And to then, when we have the money, we move to the next area. It may not be every year, but we will then know, here's where we're going next.
Agreed.
And roughly,
Yes.
how much might it cost to do that?
Might even incorporate the building, when you build your house.
And it should be a historic district planting plan,
Yeah.
not a town planting plan.
All right, any other discussion? All right, we will take it to a roll call vote.
Well, wait a minute, I want
He wants-
While Steve's thinking of that, does VDOT require the word master plan?
No, they
I don't.
want a plan.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. That was when they were developing it. That's the words they used.
So I'd like to make an amendment that we alter the name of this to the Cape Charles, something about planting plan as opposed to master tree plan.
Cape
Well,
Charles
it's a
tree
master
planting
tree
plan?
planting plan.
Why would even call it master?
Cape Charles Tree Planting Plan, is that what you said?
Something along, I mean, I'm open to,
Whatever, that's fine.
We still need a second.
Yeah, we need a second for the amendment.
Second.
Okay.
Is there any discussion on that? While we're in that, let's stay on that discussion,
Yes, let's
please,
stay on
before
that.
we go further.
Yes.
So is your discussion on that?
No, I was gonna finish up in the last one.
Well, let's finish this. So, all in favor on changing the name from Master Tree Planting Plan to Tree Planting Plan? All in favor?
aye.
All opposed? Andrew, was yours a?
No, it's just a question.
And,
No.
Yes, all right,
I'm fine
Sorry,
with that.
okay. Amendment carries, go ahead.
All right, does VDOT need a required species of tree?
I don't think so.
All right, I would, if.
They have a preferred list of trees to use. However, this is one of the trees. The trees that we use are all acceptable to VDOT.
Red oak in the hell zone,
Red oak, there are red oaks in town,
Yeah.
existing right now.
big tree.
Now, they do have acorns,
Oh, I know that, no, I'm just saying.
but the,
That's a big tree.
and there, we did hear a complaint about acorns, a couple of them, because people have to clean them up. And if certain species of oak trees have larger acorns than others, and those could dent a car, probably the biggest ones, but the
Yeah, I was just worried about if they had a specific requirement for a type of tree. I would just leave off the trees.
So that being said, once the bid is awarded, that'll all be taken into consideration with whoever gets awarded that bid. You'll all be in discussion with what species actually get planted.
So,
With
yeah.
them and the homeowner, right. We'll involve the homeowner as well.
So we're approving that the tree would be selected from VDOT,
I'm not approving,
No.
I'm not
just
approving
is-
anything.
This is what we're doing for VDOT. That's gonna be to the homeowners, the contractor, and
And tap, yeah.
VDOT would be covering like Roanoke area and stuff too, so I would not put that in there.
yeah, I don't think it needs to be. All right, any more discussion? Can we take it to a vote? All right. Bennett,
No.
Buckholz. Luda.
yes.
Fulmer.
No.
Grossman.
Yes.
The motion does not carry.
It's three.
It's three, but it's money. I thought we needed four from our last discussion.
No, we're not, this is approving the plan, not spending the money. We don't even have the bids yet.
Sorry, if you weren't here last month, this is very confusing. So we only need three. All right, so the motion carries. Approved. All right. Well, there was $10,000 involved, so my apologies. All righty, so to the next zoning map amendment 2023-04- tax map number 83A3-1-644 and A3A3-1-641, which we talked about.
So let the zoning administrator take this one.
All right.
So just to flesh out the rest of the staff report here, Planning Commission did hold a public hearing on this last month, on November 20th. I reported as part of that, everything I told you this evening, that the two lots that are part of this and under this consideration, they were part of the purchase of the Bank of America building when the town acquired that building. These two lots have never been developed nor utilized in the operation of the bank, nor since the library occupied the former bank building. Also indicated the town council's actions to date on the library bid proposals. With that, I also provided them how this reflects back to the comprehensive plan, as well as to the intent with respect to our zoning ordinance and zoning district intent statements. I've provided that in the staff report. I will not regurgitate it this evening. What is most important is when we looked at these lots, they clearly were laid out within the town layout plan from 100-plus years ago to be residential lots. They are definitely characteristic of all the other residential lots in town. So I think there is clearly some intent and support here that these were meant to be residential, and definitely there was conversation during our comprehensive plan adoption that this corridor of Randolph Avenue should be preserved as a residential corridor coming into town, going all the way down to the beach. So any action you take this evening would not be inconsistent with our comprehensive plan. We did receive 2 comments at the public hearing with the Planning Commission, similar to this evening, one from Mr. Pugh and one from Mr. Barrett. Again, I'm not going to regurgitate because they've also had a chance to speak this evening. From that, the Planning Commission had some further conversation and discussion, because definitely the alley issue came up with some prevalence at that meeting at the Planning Commission. And we thought we made it clear during that meeting that any discussion and action and recommendation relative to rezoning of these lots has nothing to do with the alleys or easements on that land. Those would still remain regardless of whether they're zoned commercial, residential, or anything. Those are existing legal documents that establish those rights.
I have a question on that. So we have established that those are alleyways. We're not going to have the same thing come up that just happened on Pine.
I did not say they're alleys. They are easements. They are easements, and they establish certain rights. They're not a public alley. They are easements that have been given to all of those affected property owners that abut that easement.
So until we actually have a survey, we could have the same issue we have on Pine and
We
where that
actually-
easement.
We know those. There is an easement that runs from Randolph on the side of that residential lot. I'm going to call it a residential just for this discussion purposes, running to the rear corner, and then turning a 90-degree angle back behind Mason Avenue. That is I'm doing this off the top of my head, a 9-foot, 8 foot on that side. Thank you, John. There's 2 different numbers, so I can't remember which is which at the moment. That is still intact and in place. I will tell you, coming out of the public hearing of the Planning Commission, we held a neighborhood meeting, so I'm going to diverge just a little bit to talk about that neighborhood meeting. I thought we made the town position very clear that we have no intention of abandoning that easement that runs along the side of that residential lot coming in from Randolph up to the backside of the Mason Avenue buildings. The intent that we've been discussing is, could there be a better solution to solve all of the various use issues occurring behind the library property, specifically where the parking lot is? And on that parking lot, there's trash issues going on there. There are access issues of people using it for driving their cars in, for deliveries occurring off of that, everything of that nature. So it really was an exploration. Could we try and fix some of this now, potentially through a legal alley easement creation that the town could adopt before you ever dispose of the library property?
So Katie, you're referring to 642B and 643B when you say that, I just want to make
Yes.
sure, okay.
Yes, thank you. And so with that said, apparently there may still be some concern, as we heard this evening from some of those residents, that they still don't feel that the town has made a sufficient statement to that effect. I can only make what I can represent as a staff person, but potentially the town manager may want to speak on that on your behalf as well. And you, of course, can always make a statement that there is no intent to eliminate that easement that exists.
So let me go on record then. So I was at the community meeting as well. I thought we were fairly clear as well. So just to kind of recap what Katie said. So we have an existing easement that comes down off of Randolph and goes this way. Okay, it's a very narrow easement with 2 90-degree turns. It's not at all user-friendly. Right. So we were not looking to take anything away. We're looking to make it better. We thought, well, wouldn't it be better to just come in off of Pine? Right. Let's just do it that way. And then we wouldn't need that one up there. We thought we were making it better for everyone. That's not what we heard. Almost everyone said they didn't want to lose this access. Fine. We'll take it off the table. It is not my intention to recommend to you that we vacate that easement. I'm going on record saying that. Now, you may choose to do that, but it's not going to be my recommendation. Okay? We are still in the process of working with the developer for the library redevelopment project to solve all the other issues that were talked about. Every other comment that was heard at the public hearing tonight had nothing to do with rezoning. In fact, many of the commenters said they don't oppose the rezoning. It was the issues dealing with the redevelopment and the trash and the access. That's all going to come to you later. when we bring you the development plan for the library that establishes how we're going to use these two back lots and whether there's going to be an easement, whether there's going to be an alley, who gets to use it, that's all yet to be determined. We're still working that out with the developer. That is not germane to the question that you're asked to decide tonight.
But
The
resolution for those two lots behind the library may allow us to avoid the easement on the Randolph property. Right? The existing one?
It could.
Depending on what your conversations are.
It could, but all the stakeholders don't want that, and I'm not going to recommend that. So that doesn't mean we couldn't still create some use here. We can do that in addition to what's there. That's part of the discussion that's still to come. Tonight, all we're talking about is rezoning these two lots from commercial to residential, nothing else. Everything else that was, all the other concerns that were mentioned here tonight are all valid concerns. We're working on them, and those are for a future meeting and a future decision on your part. Tonight, all we're asking for is approval to rezone from commercial to residential.
And these are 40 by 120?
40 by
40 by 140. They're 5,600 square feet, yes, thereabouts,
They're
each.
standard lots,
Yes.
standard residential lots.
May it be adjusted or no?
What do
They
you
would be
mean
non-conforming
adjusted?
if you did.
You-
Non-conforming if you dropped it 20 feet?
Yes.
That's correct.
From 120, how can
Because our zoning ordinance defines a conforming lot, not just by total square footage, but by a dimensional layout of 40 by 140.
And we can't create a non-conforming lot.
Yes.
there's a zillion of them in town?
Yeah, but that's, yeah.
They're already existing.
But right now, we cannot create them.
Yeah, there's one right in front of us, 40 by 96.
So again, just to reiterate John's point here, rezoning this is only, I think, putting in place the zoning that you indicated when you reviewed the development proposals for the entire library parcels. You really said, boy, we thought we wanted some high-end development here, maybe commercial development, and then you realize, no, we really don't. We rather would have these two parcels alone only be considered for residential development one day in the future, or the town can continue to own and hold them and keep them as vacant lots. So that's wholly your call.
The original discussion was never a high-end commercial, it was always parking. That was always going to be determined parking for the last 10 years. That's all we talked about, those two lots as never being as parking.
Well, that's,
Just
That may have been town discussions
until the
and
library.
up until the library
Correct.
redevelopment. When I brought that project forward to you, we did discuss that possibility of having those two lots developed in some way in conjunction with the library building. So that was something that was discussed and something you agreed to and we put out on the street. We didn't like what we got back from the street.
Right.
And so now we're back to where you were, where the town was originally, saying that we don't want that kind of development there, that it's better suited for residential purposes. It was alluded to by some of the speakers that after our community meeting, some of the adjacent property owners expressed interest in purchasing the inboard lot here, the one closest to the existing easement. They were going to go in on it and do things like create a wider easement, put in parking, trash management, and it would be used by everybody who chipped in. I mean, it would help alleviate the problem. And I told them that I would work with them on that. If we put this out to bid, we would probably put some minimum bid out for it.
Residential though, could that still be?
It could through conditional use permit. So yes, so changing the zoning does not prohibit that. It would just require a conditional use permit. So I told the interested group that if they wanted to try to work something out to bring it to me, we'll sit down and talk. It doesn't necessarily have to be the top dollar. It has to be the top beneficial use, right? The best public purpose. And so I said I would be willing to bring council something other than the top dollar if it was going to be, a better use for everybody involved. So they're looking at that right now and deciding whether that's something they want to try to put together. But again, none of that has anything to do with the question tonight. Tonight is just rezoning it from C1 to R1, and then all of this will come back. All these points, all this discussion will come back for future discussion and future decisions.
There were several people that mentioned the idea of having surveys. Do we actually know where the property boundaries are?
I mean, this looks like the survey that I'm looking at in this package.
We provided you the most current survey that was done on the library property when the town purchased this from Bank of America.
And the easement is in the deeds, so.
Yes.
The surveyor didn't know his tree canopy.
All right, any more discussion?
So the recommendation from the Planning Commission, when all was said and done from their public hearing, was they did recommend for the town council to affirmatively vote to rezone this. And that's it.
And staff recommends agreeing with the Planning Commission's recommendation.
All right. Do we have a motion?
Yeah, so I'll put a motion on the table, we can discuss further. I make a motion that we adopt ordinance 20240118 to approve the rezoning of these two Randolph lots from commercial C1 to residential R1.
Second.
More discussion?
No, I'm quite happy if the easements stay as is right now.
That's already getting raises. We already have public comments closed, so I apologize. All right, we'll take it to a roll call vote. Start at the bottom. Grossman,
4.
Palmer,
4.
Buda,
Yes.
Buckholz,
Yes.
Bennett.
Yes.
Motion carries. All right. And now comments from the town manager, please.
All right. Well, we have officially closed out our 2023 Communities Strategic Plan Citizen Survey, and just incredible response this year. The first year we did this, we got 442 responses. Last year, we beat that by 10. We got 452 responses. This year, we got 581, 130 more than we have in the past 2 years. So very pleased with the turnout. However, we are now slogging through all that data. So again, most of you recall, most of it was open-ended type questions. There's a lot of comments. So we're trying to sort through all that. But I will have that ready for you for presentation as promised on February 1st. Part of the reason that I haven't really dug into the survey data a whole lot yet is because also this week, on Tuesday, the SCC, as scheduled, released their staff report, the long-awaited staff report that we've been holding our breath for, all 400 pages of it, which I am now also slogging through. So there's 200 pages that have been made public. I am now in the process of signing all the appropriate agreements to get access to the confidential portions. So I'm not prepared to give any specifics yet, other than I will say things are looking promising. And I will give you a more detailed report on that after I get through all the material next week.
Sounds like good bedtime reading.
Yes, yes. I've also briefed you that over the fall and then over the holidays, we've been trying to work directly with a couple of contractors regarding the visitor center project and trying to see how we could finesse those bids into something more reasonable. And we were waiting for the GCs to get information from their subs. Well, we've gotten most of that information back, and unfortunately, it didn't come out as good as we were hoping. Way better than what we got when we put it out to bid, but I wouldn't call it good. So we're going back with them again for another round of how we how we might be able to tune it up even tighter. And then once we're ready, then we're going to need a work session where we sit down with council to see just how much you're willing to do and how much of a design you're willing to do without and that sort of a thing. But I just want to let you know we are still working on it. We've got 2 contractors that are engaged at the moment working with us and potentially a third. So we just didn't get quite the good news we were hoping for from the subcontractors. They're just throwing out crazy numbers. We have been able to secure our auditors, and so we have scheduled our audit for February 22nd and 23rd. And I have no new personnel changes to report this month, and I have to run. I need to be out tomorrow. I need to run up to Philly on some personal business real quick, but I'll be back on Saturday, and I'll be in working Saturday and Sunday, getting through all this data, all this information I got to get through. So that's all I have.
Thank you. Council members. Yes.
Yep, I'd like to make a public apology at this time. I was asked to say a few words at the dedication of the Cape Charles Invisible Tour initial plaque establishment on Jefferson Avenue for the Carver Theater site. Mayor was out of town. I agreed to stand in for him and say a few words on behalf of the town. I wrote it on my calendar for the wrong day, the day after. So it was after the event that I was notified that I was missed, and I'm quite embarrassed by that. But I do apologize to the group, the Cape Charles Invisible Tour. If you haven't been on their website, I would highly encourage it. It's an incredible testament to the African American history of Cape Charles, where these establishments were, what they did, photographs. It's just a terrific effort. And again, very, very sorry that I missed the dedication.
Sign was late too, by the way.
I know we're just at 1,000 on that one.
It's like, yeah, this is like triple.
Mr. Grossman.
I have just one item. At the state level, VML has been updating us on bills. The one I want to call your attention to is House Bill 1328, where tot collection by intermediaries will occur at the state level. So this is Airbnb playing again on collecting at the state level and let the state hire staff and disseminate then tot taxes to the localities. And to me, this is really bad. Right now, it hasn't been referred to a committee yet, but once it is, we'll spread the word, and we need to get on the books to offer our opinions against such a bill.
Is there any timetable on that, or they haven't?
No, they
just brought it.
Not going to committee is surprising because some of the bills have already had third readings in Senate and what have you. So I don't know if people are dragging their feet, but we need to keep an eye because the session only goes until early February, so.
Okay. Anybody else? Andrew?
Nope.
All right, great. I'll just make a few announcements here. February 1st, Town Council public hearing and special meeting. We'll be here 6 p.m. February 15th, Town Council regular meeting. And February 19th, town offices will be closed for President's Day. And February 24th, strategic planning joint work session. And can I get a motion for adjournment?
Second?
Okay.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? We are adjourned.